you should always be open to new concepts, new ideas, new terms, new terminology, just new concepts. Yeah, always be open to them. And I recently learned a new one, Yandere. I'd never heard the word before. It's a Japanese word. It describes a kind of stereotypical anime figure, right? I don't really follow anime. I don't really know anything about Japanese culture. And somehow this crossed my path, this word. And I was like, wow, this really fits it. And the reason new concepts are so good is because with new concepts, you sort of like all of a sudden understand some experience that you've had and are able to handle it a bit better. So let me tell you about yanderes, okay? So yandere is, like I said, a Japanese term for an anime stereotype. And it's a kind of girlfriend, the yandere, from what I understand. I could be sort of wrong in the details, so, just give me a little rope here. See, the yandere is a girl who is the girlfriend of some character, of whatever character. And the thing about her is that she's very sweet and very nice, but very clingy. Very clingy, and she is doing all kinds of machinations to stay with the guy, with the boyfriend or whatever. She is sort of like, well, she's basically psychotic, okay? That's what I understand of the yandere character. And I realized that I had been dating yandere. And I'll tell you my experience. And once I tell you my experience, I'll tell you why this matters. See, I was dating this girl called Jay. Now, Jay was attractive, great body, attractive enough. She was very sweet, very shy, and extremely clingy, see? I mean, like, she would do whatever I wanted, okay? Sexually and in other regards, she would do absolutely anything that I wanted, without complaint. And she'd cook for me, and she was like the perfect girlfriend in many regards, right? But here's what was interesting, or interesting in quotation marks, of course, scare quotes, of course. What was interesting was that, see, she had a temper, but she constantly held it in control. And it was like a volcano that you never knew when it was going to blow, right? But see, I never saw her blow up. She never blew up at me, okay? She was like this perfect girlfriend, but she always had to be with me. And if I didn't call her or at least text her every day, she got upset with me. And her upsetness would be like this cold, kind of like downcast aura emanating from her, right? Like pulse waves of unhappiness, right? And whenever she was unhappy, it was very clear. And as the weeks passed and became months, and I started to know her more and more, I realized that she rarely talked about herself. She didn't offer up anything about herself. And she was very clingy, and she constantly tried to use sex to smooth out any problem. If I was unhappy about something or unhappy with her clinginess, she'd automatically turn to sex to use it to pacify me, quite frankly. And it worked. It worked like a charm for a while, because I'm a guy, right? Sure, some girl is being annoying or whatever, but she gets horny and wants to fuck, and of course I'm going to forget all about it, just like any guy would, right? But after a while, you start to notice the pattern here. That whenever I got unhappy about her clinginess, about her need for me to call her, or at least text her every day, she'd get upset. And she'd come over to see me every day after work. Every day after work. And to the point that I felt a little suffocated. Sometimes I just wanted to be by myself. And sometimes I'd been working all day. And at the end of my workday, I just wanted to chill out. Chill out with a glass of wine, watch TV, and zone out. Just chill out, some me time. Because even though I was working by myself, it's when you're working, even if it's by yourself, it's just a lot of pressure. And so even though I'd been alone all day working, writing or whatever, the fact that she was coming over was just like stressful. I just wanted to be alone. And the thing is, I started to realize that I felt stressful around her because I felt that she was grabbing onto me as if she were drowning, and I was her lifeline, and it was exhausting. it was just, I just got tired, you know? And so some days I didn't want to see her, and she'd get really, really upset. And what was interesting was that a lot of times, interesting, again, in scare quotes, it was interesting that we'd have a fight and she would refuse to leave. She just wanted to stay no matter what. And to the point where, you know, it got so bad, we'd be fighting and I'd get so angry at her staying, not leaving. Because, you know, when you have a fight, you know, sometimes it's best for each to go to his own corner kind of a situation, right? But she'd stay there and just grind on it and try to hug me and try to, again, use sex to smooth out the problem, right? And see, the problem was, I started to realize, was that it wasn't that she was just too clingy. It's that she didn't want to be with anybody else. She didn't want to socialize with anybody. She just wanted it to be her and me in like this own private little universe. Whenever we would hang out with other people, she would quickly try to end the interaction. You know, she was like almost like afraid of other people, okay? And she was like extremely clingy, trying to isolate me from the rest of the world. And it was just, it was exhausting, you know? I mean, I liked her, but it was exhausting, and it was also exhausting and a little bit creepy because she never really talked about herself. She would talk vaguely about her past, right? But never in much detail, and she would quickly change the subject, you know, and she never had any, how could I put it? She never wanted to talk about who she was. But you know something? I think the thing that bothered me the most about her was that she never expressed joy. And that's something that really started to get under my skin, to tell the truth. She was never happy. And whenever I would do something for her to make her happy, like an unexpected gift or something like that, she would be like, oh, that's nice. And that was it, okay? It was as if she didn't care about anything except me. But she didn't care about me or my problems, as she just wanted my company. She just wanted me to be around no matter what. Now, whenever I had to travel for whatever reason, and I didn't call her during the period of my travel, she would get very upset, extremely upset. If I didn't call her or at least email her, she would just get super upset. One time, I had to travel for about a week, 10 days, right? And I came back, and I was like at the airport, right? And I get a call, you know, from her, and she just insistent calls, and I'm in the middle of like the immigration line, right? So I couldn't pick up the phone. I was just doing other shit, right? And she called me like 3, 4, 5 times in a row, because she knew I was arriving that day, of course. And she called me 3, 4, 5 days in a row, 5 times in a row, and left messages. And finally the message was, you know, we're done, we're through, I'm sick of you, and that was it. And I hadn't done anything. I hadn't done anything. I just arrived back, and I hadn't been able to take her call because I was in the fucking line for immigration. To get through immigration line or custom, or, you know, the border thing. And she got so pissed at me that she broke up. And I was like, fine, fuck it. And then like later, a few hours later, when she knew that I was back at my place, she called me again and sort of like tried to smooth out everything, and everything was hunky-dory. And it was just like, you see what I mean? It was just, it was a very bizarre experience. To the point where finally, you know, I just got sick of her, because she kept bringing stuff over, her stuff over to my apartment, and for all intents and purposes, surreptitiously moving into my place, okay? Now, at that time, I had a fairly small place, and, you know, I didn't want to have a roommate. If we were gonna, like, live together, fine, let's go and get a big place, big enough for the two of us. But the place I was in was small, and all of her stuff just kept on encroaching on me. And she just trying to bulldoze her way into my life. And it was just exhausting. It was just exhausting, and I felt overwhelmed. And the cleanness of it was just too much. And finally, I broke up with her, grabbed all her shit. I bought a couple of suitcases because it turned out that she had so much stuff, so much clothes and crap that she'd brought over to my place that it filled 2 suitcases. 2! I filled up all the suitcases with her stuff, and I packed it up and I gave it to her and just called it quits. And I don't know, 3-4 days later, she called me and she started calling, and she just wanted to meet, just wanted to talk. And we met finally about a week later, and we wound up in bed, you know, not 2 hours later. Okay? Yeah. And that's how it was. Now, this sounds, you know, on the one hand, if you're unsophisticated, it sounds like the perfect girlfriend, but no, it wasn't. It was a horrible girlfriend. She was a smart girl, really smart girl. She was a hardworking girl, but the problem was that she was damaged. She was just severely damaged, and the problem was that she was so afraid of her loneliness, so terrified of her loneliness, that she needed to latch on to any guy. Any guy. It didn't really matter if it was me or John Smith or whatever. She didn't really care about who she was with. She just needed to be with somebody because her loneliness was killing her. And so she needed to be with somebody, and so she treated me as if I were made of glass. And she clung to me because of her loneliness, but because she was afraid of losing me, she would treat me very delicately, and we would never have any fight, but there were constant these little flicks of fire that came out of her, these little losses of temper. And I realized that she had incredible anger that she was holding back constantly, and it was exhausting. I could feel this anger coming off of her all the time. And you know, I wanted to know what it was, and every time she'd be like, oh, forget it, or whatever, and sometimes she'd just yell, I don't want to talk about it, you know, and I have no idea what was pissing her off so much, but clearly something was. And she didn't want to share it with me. She didn't care about me as a man, okay? She only viewed me as somebody who could alleviate her loneliness. A guy who would give her a good fuck and make her feel that she was not so alone, but she didn't care about me, and I didn't make her happy, okay? I mean, whatever I did, she was just never particularly impressed or happy with it. It was like the pleasure centers, the ability to feel pleasure or happiness or joy had been toned down almost to just barely 1, you know? But the dial of our anger was all the way up to 11, but muted. And the mute button, it sort of like worked sometimes. Sometimes it would slip up and her anger would come out. Sometimes a disproportionate anger as to what was going on or whatever problem was going on, you know? Now, I liked her very much. I liked her very, very much. She claimed when we broke up that she had fallen in love with me. I don't think so. I don't think she had fallen in love with me at all. I think that she didn't even know me, to tell you the truth. I don't think she knew me, and I don't think she really even wanted to know me. She just wanted somebody in her life. And when we finally did break up definitively, she moved on very quickly. I don't know what has happened to her, but I suspect that she found another guy just like that. Because she was very attractive. She could get any guy that she wanted. But I think that ultimately she just needed somebody in her life to hold back the incredible loneliness that she felt. And the incredible loneliness that she felt could not be assuaged by any man. It was something inside of her. Now, there's no real point in this story. I mean, of course, apart from the obvious, you know, avoid a yandere, right? You have to understand that yanderes are deeply damaged girls. They are deeply damaged, And nothing you do or say can fix that damage. And it's not that they want to be with you. They want to be with anybody who will alleviate their loneliness. And the reason they don't want other people in your life, even casual conversations with other people, is they want you to be exclusive to them. They need your complete attention. Even if you're actually not focused on them, if you're just together and watching TV or what, but she needs you exclusively in a way that is frankly infirm on their part. My suspicion is that yanderes are basically young women or women who did not have a healthy relationship with their father, or their father rejected them, or they felt as if their father rejected them. And that rejection is a wound that never healed. And it's a wound that never healed, and they are going from man to man to fill it up somehow. They are going from man to man to fill it up, and they need the exclusive, undivided attention of the man in order to replace or heal this wound of their fathers who did not give them attention, who rejected them. Do you see what I'm saying? It's hard to spot yanderes because when you're in a relationship with a yandere, she seems like this great girlfriend who's so sweet to you and does so many things for you. And she's there for you sexually, and she gets you little gifts. And who doesn't like that? Getting laid and getting presents. Great, And she'll cook for you, and she'll do all kinds of things for you. But see, she doesn't care about you, okay? She's not interested in you. She'll listen to you, but she doesn't really care about you. She just needs your attention. And the second you don't give her that attention, that anger that she has, that she's keeping a lid on at all costs, that anger will come out. And that anger will come out, and you'll feel it. You'll feel that anger. You'll feel that anger, and you're not going to like it.